second two chapters that are on the exam were what we went over last week, and then obviously what we're going over this evening. So, and I realized after I started looking at this that there were an awful lot of true statements on here. I didn't realize how many true.
That's what I thought too.
I asked people, did you get a lot of true answers?
Yeah, I thought afterwards, either that made it too easy or it made you feel uncomfortable, because it's like,
It's uncomfortable.
Uncomfortable, yeah. But I didn't do it intentionally, I'm not sure exactly how I ended up doing it. But anyway, 1, 2, and 3 were true, and 4 was false. And the reason is that last word shouldn't have been ethnology, it should have been ethnography. That's when you go to the field, you do a holistic study, you come back and you write about it. Then 5 and
Say
6,
that word one more time.
ethnography,
Okay.
ethnography. 5 and 6 were true. 7 was false. The rule which states that one should not wear white clothes after Labor Day is an example of a moray. That's actually an example of a folkway. Because, you know, it's not like you're gonna get arrested if you do, right? And in fact, it's not even as strong a rule as it once was. When I was growing up, my mother would have been outraged, if I had worn white, after Labor Day. Or if I had worn,
Open toe shoes.
you see, you had to wait till Memorial Day to wear white, and then at Labor Day, you stopped.
Yeah.
That was the rule, and you couldn't wear patent leather until Memorial Day, but not after Labor Day.
I never could figure out the difference between white and winter white.
Well, winter white is just a new invention that says you can wear white in winter. I don't think I think it's a little duller, it's a little creamier than white, I don't know. Anyway, that was that one. 8 and 9 were true. 10, which I gave you credit for, I remember that I had started to talk about this, and we were talking about culture and is it unique and everything, and I was gonna carry that through, and I didn't do it. I didn't come to closure there. What I was going to try and tell you is that it is not a unique human adaptation, but since I never quite got to that point, and most people assume that it is, I gave credit. I talked about it, I started talking about it, but I didn't. Did you? Really? It was in your notes? And
Maybe it was just because of, maybe it was because of,
But doesn't matter, we'll.
And 26 out of 37 missed it, and it was in your notes? Really?
Was it
wait, you
You need to pay attention to stop eating your dinner.
Well, I mean, I got it correct, I put truth for it.
The answer was
Because
true.
Penny said culture too.
Yeah, that was the example you gave, that
Yeah.
teams would take sticks and make their own tools to get
Yeah.
fleas and ants and stuff.
Well,
culture,
I'm not gonna
culture
take him away
adaptation
right
is-
now,
is
but-
almost unique to the human race, but it's not.
okay, so 26 of you got a freebie on that one. Actually, you all got a freebie, because I added it to everybody. So even if you got it true, you got an extra point. Well, good to know. 11 was also true. 12 was false. Mores change over time, and so do folkways. I mean, they're rules of behavior, and they do change. They don't necessarily change at the same pace, but they change. 13, 14 were true, 15 was false. It's much easier to enforce a law that's based on a moray than a folkway, because people think mores are more important. So if it's easier to get people to support the idea that you shouldn't steal or you shouldn't kill, as opposed to the rule that says you should always wear a helmet when you ride your bike, or you should always, fasten your safety belt, or the rules that are considered less important and that where we don't maybe have consensus or as much consensus, those folkways are gonna be more difficult to enforce as laws, even though sometimes they do get on the books. 16, these were true, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. 22 was false. participant observation is to cultural anthropology, and surveys are to sociology, and experiments are to psychology. Right? Okay. True, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29 was false. I gotta say, if I were taking this quiz, I would have been freaked out, you know, seeing all this truth. Searching for similarities among people in different societies is not as important to cultural anthropology as highlighting the differences, and that's false. They're both important, equally important. 30 and 31 were true, 32 is false. Actually, folkways, because they're less important, change more rapidly, are more subject to change than mores. So that's the reverse. 33 is false. Here's the thing, let me go ahead and go over this. In the book, there's a diagram. It's kind of like a barrel, as I remember it. But up here it has superstructure. And then it has social structure. And then it has infrastructure. And what they're saying are, these are three very broad categories of culture. This has to do with religion, philosophy, worldview. There was a question on that, and I think pretty much everybody got it right, or a lot of people did. But social structure, that deals with relationships between people. When we talk about social structure, we're talking about how people treat one another. Okay, what they expect from one another. So it's all about social relationships, people getting along with other people. And infrastructure is subsistence pattern. And subsistence pattern is how people basically get the food they need to survive. So we talk subsistence in terms of hunting and gathering, or horticulture, or herding animals, or agriculture, or industry. Different things that, different ways, of subsisting. And so the whole idea, if you look at that barrel or whatever, mine doesn't look too much like a barrel, but if you look at this in your book, the point they're trying to make is about integration. Remember the idea that one of the characteristics of culture is that culture is integrated? What they're trying to say there is that there needs to be an interrelationship between superstructure, social structure, and infrastructure, right? They need to support one another. And if they do, then we can say that culture is integrated. Okay? Now, they probably most of the time are not going to support one another 100%, right? But that should be the ideal, right? That your superstructure tells you this. It's like religion. It's philosophy that's going to guide how you relate to other people, and how you relate to other people is going to be somewhat dependent on how people make a living. In a hunting and gathering society, people live in a small population. Everybody works together and has to get along. Everybody knows everybody. Everybody's the same in a group. So they're not afraid. There's no strangers, right? But in an industrial society like ours, you have large populations, lots of people you don't know, a lot of diversity. That's going to affect how you treat people. You're going to lock your doors, and you're going to be afraid of strangers, and you'd be afraid of your kids getting out of your sight in the department store and that sort of thing, right? And then that's going to feed into how you view the world. Do you trust people? Do you not? So the idea is that these three major parts of culture should be working together. They should be similar. They should have at least similarities, right? Because they're all interrelated. They're all major parts of the society. So, having said all that, it says here on 33, infrastructure is a synonym for rule-governed social relationships. No, Infrastructure, subsistence, rule govern relationships would be social structure. So that's why that's incorrect. Okay, true statements again. 34, 35, 36, 37, 38. And if you have questions about any of the true statements, I'll give you a chance when I get through with this in just a minute to ask those questions. 39 is false. Anthropology is similar to political science because both disciplines are holistic. Political science is not holistic. Political science looks at political science. They look at politics. They look at government. They don't look at, the family. They don't study, all aspects of a culture. Sociology does. Anthropology does. So to make it a correct statement, you could have put in sociology for political science. So, true statements, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47. And then 48 is false. Obviously, anthropology doesn't define culture the way we use it sometimes in everyday language to refer to elite things like ballet and fine arts. It's everything. It's a whole way of life. It's everything that you do. 49 refers to this issue on the board again, and that would be infrastructure refers to subsistence patterns found in a society, and 50 was true. So any questions about some of the true statements in here?
What, can you repeat, number 33, what was it supposed to be? Like,
To make it correct, you'd say social structure is a synonym for rule govern social relationships, how people get along.
In 45 to 48, you said were false.
No, 45, 46, 47 are true, and 50 is true. So only 48 and 49 were false. Okay, any other questions?
so, I'm just gonna go over one more thing. The test next week is over 1, 2, 4, and
We're coming to none.
Okay.
Yeah, there's I skipped a chapter in there, right?
It's 3.
Yeah, I skipped 3, so it's 1, 2, 4, and 5.
1, 5.
Okay, and so we're gonna cover chapter 5 this evening. It's really important, I know I said this to you before, I'm pretty sure I did, but you never know. And that is the reason I'm giving you, other than my pinched nerve, the reason I'm giving you all these handouts is because you need to use them to study for the exam, which I think is probably pretty self-evident, but once again, inevitably, I have questions on the exam that come right from these study guides, and people miss them like they've never seen it before. I mean, directly from the study guide. So use these study guides to study for the test, if you're interested in getting a good grade.
Are you gonna, there's this, the green, study guide, are you gonna have us be expected to know anything off the board? Like, I think one of them we did for an example. You put websites on.
Oh, the websites, no, they were on last week. I just said they were in case you were interested,
Yeah,
but you didn't have to look them up, no.
Okay.
You just need to know what was on that study
Yeah.
guide.
Isn't ethnology, what is ethnology, isn't it?
Ethnology is when you do a comparative study. You don't go necessarily to the field, you use information other people have gathered, and you pick a topic, like child rearing, and you compare what people have learned about child rearing in this culture, what they've learned about this other culture. What you're trying to do when you do a comparative study is that's when you're looking for the patterns. Do they do it this way in most societies, or is it unique? So that's what you're trying to do with a comparative approach.
So what is a record of life? Is that
Record
a
of,
record, like,
did I say that in here?
it's in my notes somewhere. It's like, I thought it was
It's ethnography.
ethnography, or what is it?
That's when you go into the field and you study a culture, and you write about everything about that culture, about the life of those people.